Welcome one last time to Clinical Theurgy, episode 71. Weird to end a campaign on an odd number. Maybe even, is it a prime number? 50, 21? It's not? Are you sure?
That was more of a response because I was triggered by the name.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying it kind of sucks. Error ended on 59. This one's ending on 71. No even episodes to end on.
Yep.
Well, I mean,
how
like,
it goes.
it's only 71 if you don't call it epilogue.
But things happen here. Things that are important. Because if I remember correctly, some very interesting decisions were made last session that are going to change how things happen.
Yes, we we were successful in trapping Ivy's brother in the crystal, but not before he summoned the demon that he had made like a pact with. And by the time the demon got there, he's just like, "You're weak. I'm not going to help you." But he did want the crystal, and we tried various shenanigans and trickery to not give him the crystal, but it eventually came down to the fact that we did not have the resources to fight him, and it was either give him the crystal or die, and he takes the crystal. So we gave him the crystal, and I think we would have to wait like a day or something to recharge spells and stuff. Or no, we had a teleport scroll. We just have to get somewhere where we can use it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the three of you, in fact, somebody's here that shouldn't be here. The three of you can scoop up the remains of Ghoulron. You will notice that the body of this guy has also kind of like fizzled and faded away into nothing but the remains of dust. All of their items are seemingly gone from here, perhaps given to him as part of some sort of deal. But you can clean up the stuff that all the rest of the people around here had. The golems will kind of stay at bay now that they are no longer controlled by any single individual. And yeah, you're just kind of stuck in this room. There's the portal there. There's the door on the other side of the room.
Actually, let me see. Damn, I don't have anything that I wanted. No, I don't have the thing that I wanted to have. Oh, that's fine. I'll have to figure out how to come back here later and get those golems. But, so...
Just gonna stay in here and hang out.
I wasn't sure if Antaeus was like wanting to study some things. I wasn't sure what he was.
Oh, no, we're good to go, I suppose, if you guys are.
So is there like dust left of Ghoulron, or
there is just like Ghoulron's gear that's there and a pool of liquid.
The Alex Macked. Yeah. Oh, his gear is being grabbed though.
Mm-hmm. What about the liquid?
I'm gonna try to put it back in the thing, but I don't know. I don't expect it to go.
It will like climb back into the vial as it did before with the bridge.
Very interesting. Actually. So we're doing teleport, correct?
Yeah, I believe that Ivy has the scroll that Rion gave us.
Trying to remember specifically how teleport works. I'm trying to look it up too, and it's being slow. There's a weight limit on that, right?
I believe
You
so.
just can't be over your max load at max load or whatever. So if you can carry it in a normal load, you can teleport with it.
And it's just regular teleport?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's just a scroll of regular teleport, and I'm pretty sure I have to make a UMD check to even successfully do it. So don't try to do anything fancy here, because I don't even know if I'll pass.
I was gonna say if it's a UMD check, I can do that. Because conveniently enough, my sing counts as UMD now.
Brianna, that companion spell you have, the one that was that was Niev, wasn't it?
Yeah, I've never really had a companion. Well, not like that. I've had companions, but in a different way.
Yes, you're. Yes. I'm trying to remember how carry companion works offhand.
Oh.
You can only do that on your companion, I'm assuming, right? That doesn't necessarily work on
Out of character, you can do it on anybody's companion because I've done it on other people's companions too.
Well, I mean, it has to be specifically a companion, though, right? Like it's for like an animal.
I think so, yeah.
One willing creature touched. I guess it has to be creature. These aren't activated, so they're not creatures.
They're not going to you're not going to be able to teleport them anyway, as they have spell resistance, and spell resistance applies to teleport.
Sad.
You're wanting to take the golems?
I mean, I don't want to just leave them here. Do you know how expensive golems are?
Not really.
They're very expensive. I'm assuming these ones are as well. I don't specifically know offhand, but yeah.
Oh yeah, they're crazy expensive.
Yes, I was looking for a way to like shrink it down, perhaps, and then put it in a bag, and then
they are resistant to shrink.
Rats, and I don't know where we're at. Actually, I guess we could look around the rest of the room if you guys want to.
Sure.
Yep.
Well, we also know that this room is trapped in all sorts of different ways, and we don't know necessarily if all of them are turned off by him being defeated. So I would be very cautious in what you do.
That
Very
is a
good
point.
And by Steve's smile, he was really hoping I would.
I was really excited. I was super stoked. I was like, yes, getting to trigger all the traps on the party all over again. Might still be a shot I kill them all before this session ends. Epilogue. The party decides to continue searching the room and dies in a series of unfortunate events.
I suppose. I don't want to die here, especially after everything that just happened. That would be a really unfortunate way to go out. I'd rather have died to your brother than dying to a random trap after we've captured him.
You could say you died to greed if you triggered a trap.
No. It's in the name of science.
Well, look at it this way. You get to do more scientific experiments by living and not triggering traps.
I suppose. Should we check those? Did we grab the stuff off the other guys already, or
not yet? I mean, their bodies are still there.
Should we check their stuff?
Yeah, I say let's check everything. I mean, spoils of war.
Sure, give me a perception check as you are checking them. Yeah. Yeah. You can pick up their remains. They have they each have +2 rapiers, a mithril chain shirt +1, a ring of natural armor an amulet of natural armor +2, ring of protection +2, and a +2 and a +1 buckler.
I will give those to Ivy to hold on to.
They appear to be carrying no coinage.
They all had the exact same thing on them too?
Yes. You notice, I mean, that they all look very similar, and they all seem to carry very similar gear. There might be something about this attire that is sort of correlative. Like, this might be what you wear as part of your role. Sort of like if you were a military general, you'd basically always have the same stuff on you at all times.
I will also check when we're going over them to see if they have the little armbands and the colorations and everything.
They do not, for some reason.
I will make sure to point that out.
Mm-hmm.
That seems odd. That seems very odd, in fact.
Well, I think we should probably, if we happen to see any of the others, we should mention it to them. But I don't really know what else we can do about that.
Because this teleportation is going to take us back to Knightsbridge, correct?
Yes, once we're able to teleport. I don't think we can teleport out of here.
Oh, yes, that's right. We have to go through the portal first and do all that stuff. That's right. Okay, good. Then maybe we can speak to somebody there. Because I'm trying to I don't know if we would have noticed, but I'm assuming that when we were talking to the people before we left, that when they gave us their things, that they all had the colorations on their arm.
No.
Okay. Maybe it's not such a big deal then, but still worth noting, I suppose.
That's assuming we see them. I don't know if we'll see them or not.
That's true. Actually, I'm hoping that going through this portal, considering they're going to know we're going to be out of there, won't be some sort of ambush. I don't have any reason to imagine that it would be, but I like the idea of them knowing that we're going to be there, or anybody knowing where we're going to be when we show up.
Yeah, I mean, there's not much we can do about it. I don't know about you, but I'm severely depleted after all of that.
Fairly so. Used quite a bit of spells. Well, not as many as some of you guys, but all the stuff I had wasn't as effective either.
Well, hopefully we won't have to do any more fighting after this.
Agreed.
We can't cry. No crying. Just tell me what you want.
But yes, that might be me just being paranoid about things. But still.
Well, I mean, we don't know very much about these people, but...
That's true, and we're not here to take any of their land or property or, I guess, the same thing, but we're not here for anything other than what we came and fortunately lost. But I'll have to reach out to some people and see if more information could be obtained about that. Not that I expect us to do anything about that situation. It seems a bit above our pay grade, but let people that can handle that thing.
Well, I mean, if we were all here and at full strength, I would say we probably could have handled it ourselves, but
Hopefully.
Brianna will tear up a little bit because of, Goron being gone.
Well, yes, but I mean, I suppose it wasn't that thing that killed Gulron, so I guess there's that. He finished his mission, I'm assuming, and that was what. It was abrupt, though. It was unexpected, but I don't know. At least he got his church mostly organized and everything, and
Yes.
we can take
I'm
the
just
stuff back
sad.
to them.
I just got back and he's already gone. I don't know.
But you got back before he was gone, so I suppose there's that. And I mean, we have to go sometimes, I believe. Probably.
Yes. Well, hopefully later rather than sooner, right?
Ideally, yes. Ideally, it would be better to not die before work gets done.
Well, are we ready? Are we going to step through the portal?
I'm ready.
I'm ready as I can be, I suppose.
Okay. You all can walk up to the portal and step through. As you arrive on the other side, you will see the familiar face of the person you are waiting for opposite the portal. You are still there in the little abandoned park, right around the fountain as you were when you came in. Only this time, as you exit, there are 4 other somewhat disrobed bodies around you. I'm sorry, 3 other somewhat disrobed bodies, because I'm assuming you guys took the armor off, which would have meant you would have taken off the shirt and then taken the armor off. Maybe you put it back on, but it would still look heavily disheveled.
Yeah.
Well, we're back.
Well, I could see by the corpses that you were successful, but one of them is missing.
Told you he would be taken care of, not necessarily killed, but taken care of. Will not be in your city any longer.
But where is he?
Hell.
Trapped somewhere where he belongs.
You don't understand the disorder this will create.
How is this any different than him being dead?
If he were dead, we can prove that he's dead. We can show them his body. We can show that he is dead. Someone can take his place. If he has been captured, or there is the thought that he still lives, there will be those who claim that they get word from him. His faction will likely splinter. Unexpected consequence.
I mean, I could literally give you my memory of sucking his soul or whatever the heck it is into a gem to trap him. I mean, how is he going to contact you?
How are we going to communicate this to the entire city and his followers?
Yeah, I forget.
His followers aren't going to trust
magical.
me.
Well, I don't know what to tell you. I told you I would take care of him and he'd no longer be here. I never explicitly said I would be killing him because that was never my intention.
You're right. I did not properly ask for the fine print of the circumstances.
You did not.
Also, to be fair, even if we did have a body, do you think his followers would believe that anyways? Just a question.
A corpse is much more valuable for persuading someone than the absence of such. Other figures have been presumed to remain alive for less proof, more proof. Not sure which way I'm supposed to state that one.
Curiosity, what would happen if he, say, were taken by the creatures he was making deals with?
Who cares? There's still the possibility he's alive. And in fact, if there are creatures that know who he is and know how to manifest aspects of him, they may in fact hold more power over things than anyone else would. They may be able to present a new version of him to the population, which might have greater control over the society at hand. The new boss could be worse than the old.
Well, I don't really know what to tell you. The state of your city, no offense, isn't exactly on my top priority. I did what I said I would do, and I'd frankly just like to go. I'm sure you guys will figure it out.
I'm not going to hold you here. We had a deal. I'm not a man to go back on it. Neither are the rest of our guilds.
If I think of some way to give you proof of him being gone, I will get that to you, but unfortunately, I had to take care of him in a very specific way, as is per our family bloodline. Yay.
Look, your business is your business, and it is obviously none of mine. You are welcome to keep it. I don't expect any further help from you. I and my should not call them companions, but I and my temporary allies will work to make do with what we have.
I have some friends and people I'm in contact with who very much wish to make sure the city doesn't, I think, fall in too crazy of chaos. I'll pass along that you all were helpful and hope that they help ensure that maybe things work out a little bit better in your favor.
Thanks.
Is there any way to put a memory in a viewing globe so that more than just one person at a time could see it?
I also would be concerned about doing that. Making the general public aware of what happened would probably cause people to seek that kind of creature out. And that concerns me. I don't know if that would be the case, and I'll look over to him.
He doesn't know what the fuck you're talking about, because everybody is being, like, clearly unclear.
This
depends on whether or not you want to be upfront with him about what it is that happened.
Well, I'll look around. This seems like an awfully open place to be discussing such things, but...
To be honest with you, time is of the essence. I don't care what your reasoning is. I don't care what your excuses are or whatever. The fact is, what has been done is done. We must get the other guilds under control while we can and manage to make sure that things don't fall into utter chaos. I don't really want to spend time having some sort of conversation about the actions that went on. You all seem to want to be on your way. You all don't necessarily want to share this information or are unsure of the benefit/risk of sharing this information, so perhaps it is in all of our best interests that you just not share it.
Well, my concern about that is sharing it out in public, because this isn't necessarily safe.
Yeah, so let's wander back across the city while these bodies lay here, and there's definitely no eyes that have set any eye on the bodies that are now here, and it definitely will not throw the other guilds into complete and utter infighting for who the new leaders will be.
Well, if you want to see what happened, I can show you what happened.
I don't care about what happened. I care about solutions. You don't seem to have any.
I think we should just leave them be, and our best option here is I speak with my contacts and see if they have anything that they can actually provide for them, because I don't think we do.
Good. I'm going to get on with it. I'm going to need those objects back, though.
The objects that, like, allowed us to teleport or
Oh,
whatever?
yes, of course.
Oh, I give them.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll give them back the one Gul'ran had too. One last question, though. That portal, is there other ways to access it? Are
I
there other
didn't
ways
build
to
the
access-
portal. The portal takes us into the room.
Okay, that might be good information to find out if other people have access to that then.
That I'm aware of, you can't get into that room without one of these, and he'll show the rod.
Hmm. Well, then maybe they have one of those in the house somewhere.
Whatever.
Okay.
Alright, well, I guess we'll be on our way.
Yeah, he will make leave of things. And yeah. So, what is the plan then? You guys hanging around town for a little bit more, or do you guys want to get right out of here?
I'd like to get right out of here and teleport actually to Megiddo if we can.
Okay.
Yeah.
Teleport is technically on the Magus spell list, so you do not need to make a UMD check.
I think when I was given the scroll, I just didn't have high enough spell level yet, so I would have needed to make a check then, but maybe not
You
now.
do make a check, but it is not a UMD check. So when
okay.
try and use a scroll that is one of the available spells that are on your caster list, you make a where is it? You make a caster level check, DC equal to the scroll's caster level +1. If you fail, you then make a wisdom check, and if you fail that, then there is a mishap that occurs. If you fail the check, the scroll is not expended, you just fail to comprehend the spell, basically.
Okay, I was like going, ooh, do I do this because I'm energy drained right now? So actually that could be scary if it like ruins our only chance to get out of here.
Well, there are only two of you that know where Megiddo is.
Yeah, but at very minimum, I think we could do share memory with Brianna of Megiddo, which obviously she would be able to do it. It just puts us at the highest tier of potentially mishapping from just teleporting.
Yeah, I would give you viewed once in that case.
Yeah. So that's the options we have is you can try, but you are at viewed once for trying to get there, or I've been there multiple times.
Still a 75% chance of success.
I don't know, what do you guys think? What do you want to try?
Well, the scroll isn't consumed if you don't make your check. Is that right, Ivy?
That is correct, unless a mishap
Okay.
occurs.
Okay.
On a mishap, the scroll is consumed and something bad happens.
I say we go with Ivy first, and hope that there's not a mishap, and then, but if she fails her check or whatever, then we can always try with me.
So
Sounds good.
what causes a mishap?
Failing a wisdom check.
Oh, failing the wisdom check?
Yep.
That could be actually spooky. I don't know if my energy drain affects my wisdom.
All right. Well, then, I mean, I basically have a 27 to my Sing/UMD, so.
Yeah, I don't think it's the UMD check we would worry about with you. It's the D100 roll we have to make to see if you get on target, because you would only have viewed Megiddo once.
Right. +2.
It's an enhancement bonus,
Is it
which does not
Would
stack
be-
with other enhancement bonuses.
gotcha. I didn't know if like the wisdom
Also,
bonus-
she is not a wisdom caster, she is a charisma caster.
Gotcha. Yeah, I just saw part of it and I put it in there because I haven't used this in ages.
But yeah, whichever you want to cast it can. There are potential consequences for both options. This is kind of like at the end of some games when you get there and there's just some random dude standing there with a rifle that's trying to shoot you before you get to the final portal.
Mm.
And then making you restart the boss encounter all over again. Except here you don't get to restart the boss encounter.
Well, I think we should go with Brianna and just hope that she can get on target.
All right. Which one of you is sharing a memory with me?
Tejas has to. He's the one with the device. I mean, I guess he could connect it to me and you.
Oh, true.
I probably have a stronger memory of the place in Megiddo I want to go to. I'd be... do I know of Megiddo? Would there be any reason I would not want to teleport into town? I mean, we've been there a few times now. I know if that would be...
You're not banned or anything like that.
Well, I'm meaning more of would someone just randomly appearing in town freak anyone out?
I mean, it could, especially if you teleport to the wrong place and inadvertently kill a bystander from it.
Okay, well...
See, I opt in this game to include the potential chance of telefragging. It's very minimal, but I still roll the check. If you are, not thinking ahead, I'm going to teleport into a room that I know is okay, but there might be people in it. Or you're going to teleport into the streets at random, and there might be people in it. Or there might be a cart, or there might be an animal, or new vegetation.
Well, I don't think Ivy would think about any of that, so I think she'd be thinking about literally right outside the, at that door where she has to put her hand on, and then they, know. So that's the memory I would be sharing, is right outside that door.
Sure. But is Ivy trying it first, or are we just going to Brianna?
I think we're just going to Brianna, because I think Ivy doesn't trust herself right now with all the drains she took.
Okay. And Brianna, go ahead and give me a UMD, which I'm sure you'll pass. But that's not the purpose of me having you roll it. I believe that is good enough. Use a scroll 20 plus cast level. Yeah, more than enough. They are not cast level 22. I don't think there's any bonus if you need to. Let me see if you need to. Alright, if you don't have sufficient, you must emulate an ability score with UMD. Roll me one more UMD check.
Alright.
Because you also do not have the relevant intel, but you are fine. You can activate the scroll and roll me a D100.
Alright, here we go.
Roll moderate, please. Ooh, which way are we going?
That is a interesting circumstance. Off target.
Oh,
roll
God.
me another D100.
Oh God, why? You were
And
3 off target.
You are 59 miles northeast, east. Bring us to the world map. So you are 59 miles from the intended destination east. So you will I'm measuring from the intended destinations as set by the teleport scroll. You find yourself...
Oh God, the scroll was you have to declare where it's intended when you make the...
No, but there is... So this is designed to look like a standard teleportation spell. And you're thinking of Megiddo as you cast the spell. But the scroll will plop you in the middle of a road. I think actually, I know you're within range in a clear open plain to be able to see a city to the west of you. But there is a road here, and there are mountains to the east and to the west of you. And you know that there should be mountains to the east of you, but there shouldn't be a road to the east of you if you're outside of Megiddo. And it wouldn't be survival. This would be knowledge geography.
Dang. Well, actually, that's much better. But I actually had points of survival, and I was like, oh, yes, I get to use these.
Yeah, so you'll know you're more than likely just outside Knightsbridge. It's the only place where you're going to find a road with mountains to the east and to the west and a city to the west.
And is it like a spellcraft check to know like what was different or messed up about the scroll?
Yes, while she was casting it, you could have made the spellcraft check.
Okay. I mean, I'll try. I think my energy... Oh, no, it's still pretty good.
Still very good. Both of you would have noticed it. It would have been one of those things where, like, she's reading through the scroll, and you notice that, like, part of what she's incanting, there are just a couple of key things that are different. And now that you're kind of reflecting on why that was somewhat different, you realize that the scroll is keyed to an imprinted location as opposed to the caster's location of choice.
And we don't really notice it until after the spell is finished, I'm assuming.
Correct.
Great.
You would have had to have thought ahead of time to investigate the scroll.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I didn't think Rion would do something that weird to us. Give us a scroll that's not actually just a teleport scroll. It's specifically to Knightsbridge.
Yeah.
Oh no, I think that he actually would do exactly that. In fact, it probably was supposed to send us directly to him. Because he seems like that kind of asshole.
Yeah, probably. I'm just saying, I didn't think of that.
Oh, neither did I, but in retrospect, yes, that doesn't surprise me in the least.
Well, I suppose
It's
we
fine.
should start walking. I'm sure there's somebody in Knightsbridge that can take us to Megiddo.
Is my character sheet all messed up, like stuck?
Actually, this might be better because then we aren't directly teleporting to him, so we can get back into the city potentially without him noticing, but probably unlikely.
I was going to say, I don't think much happens in the city that Rion doesn't notice.
Much doesn't happen in the astral plane that he doesn't notice either.
Well, I mean, we could dimension door at least closer, right?
Yeah, I actually also have Dimension Door, so we could do that a couple of times.
Sure. It's still
I think
60
that's-
miles, but...
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out how far dimension door can take us in one casting.
I think
that
roughly
is-
a mile at near top. I don't even think it's a mile. I think it's like it's 1,000 or so feet.
The boots I had were like 400 feet.
Let's see, 20 times 40 plus 400. Yeah, it's a quarter. You can go roughly a quarter of a mile with each casting if you are level 20.
Jesus.
So it doesn't help too much. You still got some
Yeah.
travel.
However, if we come across something potentially
I
dangerous,
thought I had... Maybe this was on a different... Oh, wait, no, I do have this spell.
Yeah. Okay.
That'll at least help us go a little faster.
Yeah.
I was like, I thought I took something because we had run into traveling issues before where our horses got killed, and I was like, I'm not dealing with this again.
No, that will be pretty good. They are magical horses, so they will actually be enhanced by the roadway. And you will find that at this, you will be able to get back to town within about 6 hours. Actually, less than that. I'm sorry. You'd be able to get into town in about 2.5 hours.
Excellent.
The horses do not wear out. The horses can move at their top speed all the way there. And you can arrive back in Knightsbridge.
I don't really remember. I guess I don't really know what you can do, Brianna, other than the few things I've seen you do in combat. Is there anything you can do to help me with energy drain?
I unfortunately don't have that sort of capability.
Okay.
You might think about visiting Moirin. I mean, we should probably let him know anyway, right?
I need to probably get to Megiddo as soon as possible, so I just wanted to know if there was anything you could do to help me.
Yeah,
Okay.
I forgot that was not levels. Sorry.
When I came out of that gate in the ministry, do I feel like I could just use that gate again? Or like, did they just not question it because I had a badge?
Didn't you
Do I
use
have
the
any
blood
idea?
gate?
I used the blood gate to get there, but when I came back, it brought me in
Right.
through a gate at the ministry. So my question is like, do I feel like that I'm allowed to just use that gate at the ministry now that I know about it and where it is, or
Give me a gauge check.
I probably
I also wouldn't recommend us going directly to the ministry unless we absolutely have to.
Yeah, you're not. You think that they probably wouldn't let you use it. You don't have the badge, so it's unlikely they would allow you.
Knowing Zigmars, how would I know, like, how many of the goblins, like, in the town are connected to him in some way, shape, or form? Like, if it's, like, a large portion of them, or...
So, aside from the, like, few gangs that don't agree with, like, his claims and his desire to sort of unite certain parts of the city, for the most part, most goblins think pretty positively of Zigmars. Well, many of them know he's connected to a lot of illicit dealings. They also know that, like, in the goblin community, Zigmars has also done more for them than anyone else has. So while they may not like what he does in some ways, they also, like, look highly upon him for the positive things he would do.
Okay. But they wouldn't necessarily have, like, many of them wouldn't necessarily have direct connections to him then.
No, it's not like you could just walk up to any goblin and they'll be like, oh yeah, Zigmars, he's my best buddy and we go way back.
Yeah, I know that sounds like questionable what I'm saying, but, like, I didn't know, like, the goblin population in the town and...
No, the best way to think about it is to think about, like, a sort of mob-run town. Like, there isn't really a crime problem as far as being a goblin. Like, the police harass you as much as you would expect the police to, but at the same time, like, the police aren't carting literally every goblin off to jail, because otherwise, like, Zigmars is going to create tons of problems for the police. So they pick and choose the battles they think they can win. And Zigmars knows that periodically he's got to make a visit to a cell to kind of keep the peace, as it will.
Roughly how long does it take to travel across the entire distance of the town, or I guess more specifically to the ministry, to the edge of...
On foot, a couple hours.
Okay. Because I don't have any, like, message or anything like that, which is why I'm trying to, like, see if I notice anybody that I would think would be in lieu with him. I try to pull them aside and
well, yeah, you can see his, like, you're coming in through the west entrance, so yeah, you're gonna pass by goblins that are going to recognize you, and goblins that'll kind of give you that familiar like head up, and you can kind of wander over to them if you're trying to reach out to them via one means or another.
Yeah, I will kind of pull them aside and, like, Zigmars.
Yeah?
How quickly would you be able to contact him?
How quickly do you need? Is this important?
Yes. I understand that it'll cost something. I'm not above paying that.
How is as fast as possible?
Yes.
Tell him Ivy needs something.
Who the fuck's in Ivy?
Oh my god.
Just tell him that. I think that'll mean something to him.
Yeah. He will, he'll like reach out his arms for a moment, and one of them he'll, like, wiggle some fingers in a couple of different ways. Message is sent.
Thank you.
I guess this would be as awkward as I'm expecting it to be. I don't know what the... fuck it, I'll just go ahead and give him 50 gold.
Yeah. As you hand that over to him, there will be a familiar voice come from behind all of you. So, what's this about?
Damn, that is fast.
Make sure the network works well if I'm going to have it. What's the point in having all these allies if I can't get a word around?
If the goblin's still here, I'll thank him for getting in contact with him.
He'll nod.
I need to get to Megiddo as fast as possible, but I'm worried I'm not in a good enough condition to do it the way I did last time.
We tried to teleport there and it brought us here. By design, seemingly.
How did you try to teleport here?
Scroll.
Scroll that Rion gave me that apparently is coded to come to him or something. I don't know.
Then he probably already knows you're here.
Probably, which is why I'm just trying to, and get out of here as fast as possible and get to Megiddo before he finds me. But I'm kind of drained and I'm kind of low health and I don't remember. I'm pretty sure that thing last time hurt quite a bit and I don't know if I can actually handle it again.
I don't know if I can get you out of here. I have a lot of power, but if you use something that he casts to bring you here, and he knows you're here, odds are you're anchored here. Have you tried to do any sort of teleportation?
I'll look over to
Is
Brianna.
dimension door teleportation?
It is.
Okay, I will attempt to dimension door just like 2 feet away.
You'll literally, you'll feel like you're about to teleport, and then there's, that jarring sensation of, if you start driving a vehicle into a wall, that, ooh, I haven't really gone anywhere, but I still feel all the force of the vehicle pushing forward.
God, why?
Dimensional anchor.
Can you just spell that?
I don't have anything on me that doesn't work only on me.
Unfortunately, I don't think that I can.
What's interesting is he's not coming after you. I would have figured guards would have found you much faster. So it must not be urgent enough, but he definitely doesn't want you going anywhere other than here.
Yeah, fuck that. Someone who's better at geography, tell me how long it would take me to ride to Megiddo if I just leave now.
That's a good question. Geography or survival?
On real horses or magical horses, geography.
Magical.
So the way that we got here, I'll try to figure that out in my head.
It would take you 3 or 4 days.
Ugh. Gross.
Maybe, hold on, I'm trying to think. They move... No, they move 30 an hour, actually. Hold on.
Maybe we don't necessarily need to get there. Maybe we just need to get a message to
So no,
them.
it would only be 10 hours. I don't know why I keep doing the horse math based on regular horse math. But you can go 30 an hour unfailing. So if your horses last for 10 hours, that's fine.
I'm assuming that we'd probably have to go near the ministry, at least in some way, shape, or form.
You'd have to go straight through the center of town, which would pass you straight by the ministry.
And if we're not on the trail, the horses wouldn't be as effective. I'm assuming.
Correct. If you ride off, you're not going to get the full speed.
Well, like Antaeus was just saying, maybe we just need to get a message to Megiddo.
Yeah, that could work.
Now that
Better
I can
than
help
nothing,
you with.
I guess.
Brianna will hand Ivy a potion of cure serious wounds when she mentions being hurt.
Do you know who you need to talk to?
If I send a message to Evelina Bartos, it'll get to the people it needs to be with.
Good enough. Let's go.
All right.
Okay.
Antaeus, he will guide all of you to the old building that he had suggested that you purchase. As part of the essential needs that we have in making trade arrangements, it's always important to have good means of communication. So I made sure to set you up with something that is rather useful. And he walks you into something that looks almost like you're kind of walking up to a what do you call the mirror, the powder room mirrors? Like that whole, is it vanity? Is that the word?
I believe so.
Yeah, the things with the big mirrors. Yeah, those are vanities.
So it with the desk in front of, or with the desk for getting prepared in front of it. He'll walk you over there, kind of offer, have a seat, mention who it is you're asking for, and assuming that they have some sort of mirror on hand or one of these themselves, then this will get you in contact.
I'm sure they'll have something. Yeah, I'll sit down and I don't know if he said I need to think it or say their name, but
Say
either
their
way,
name.
I'll say her name.
Yeah, the screen will start to like twist and swirl with sort of a black, white, and multicolor image. As you watch, you would know this to be some blend of scrying and sending, sort of combined with each other. And after a moment, you will be kind of looking up at the face of Evelina. Ivy, did not expect to be speaking to you with these means.
Yes, well, unfortunately, I tried to come to you in person and someone else has anchored me and I can't leave the city I'm in.
Oh, did you get a... We like to call them discount teleports.
Yeah, I didn't realize that's what I was being given by the person, and so of course I just try to use it to come back to Megiddo, and it's not what happened.
We'd have done the same thing, to be honest with you. Whenever we offer up teleports, they're always more of a what we actually call home portals, but some people call discount teleports. Home
Sure.
portals are usually cheaper to sell out to most people because they only take you to the one destination. They can't take you other places.
Well, I just wanted to let you guys know as soon as possible that things went well and bad all at the same time. The task is done. I successfully completed it. But unfortunately, before he was fully inside of the gem, he had been making deals with some creatures and he called one to aid him. The creature came, watched him die, and then demanded the gem from us. And I hurt myself in the process and did not have the strength to be able to do anything about it.
What kind of creature?
I looked to Antaeus,
I don't think that I actually passed that check.
You did not pass the check.
but we knew it was
don't know,
something.
but I
Called
do-
out to it for help, right?
Did you know
Yes.
what language he was speaking when he called out? You got that, right?
Yes. I was like abyssal, right?
It was infernal.
Infernal. And I do have a name potentially. Because I tried to. It hurt to think about, but I tried to remember it as best I could because that
That's
seems like
fine.
important.
Then likely dark speech is what you're going to try to speak, and I'd rather you not accidentally pronounce it correctly.
Yeah,
Yes.
so some.
Give a very vague description of how it looks and hope it triggers something.
Yeah. Well, this is workable, but on much worse terms for us. We'll expect that the city will actually probably become under better control than even if Neon would have taken it over at this point. It'll take a little more time, but it means that trading there will be more interesting. We'll be able to make some deals easier and some deals harder because they'll want to keep them for themselves.
I was hoping as well that the 4 guild members who are currently remaining that we did not have to kill helped us quite a bit, and if you could do anything favorable for them, it would be appreciated.
We'll try to work with them first where we can. Unfortunately, under the circumstances, it will only be a matter of time before they're all murdered.
Ah, well,
Most likely in the streets and most likely as a show of dominance. You'll hear about it in the news at some point, probably in the next year or so. If my estimations are clear. Rian may try to control it, though. It will be an interesting thing, but we'd much rather have this circumstance than Rian. That is for sure. These items
well.
going to the state is much worse than these items going to the abyss in weird ways. It is weird how government gets to be that way sometimes.
I guess so. But, yeah, so mission mostly accomplished.
Accomplished enough. Ooh, Rihanna is going to be so pissed.
Yeah, which is sort of why I was hoping I could get out of town, but unfortunately, I guess unless I want to leave the old-fashioned way, which...
You said it yourself, though. He picked you because you're a wild card, right?
True.
His own mistake.
True. And he really should stop telling me to go kill myself. It really makes me want to, just do the opposite of whatever he wants.
Well, in a way, I think this worked out as close to swimmingly as possible, without you having, of course, brought the gem back to me.
So this person is on the screen, though, right?
Yeah, you can see them on the mirror now.
Okay, so, like, I don't know if I'm able to engage with them. I'll just kind of, like, look at them and...
Okay, yes.
Oh, sorry, I didn't know if this was something that... I haven't seen this spell before. I apologize, I didn't mean to...
Well, it's not a spell, it's a static effect on items. But go on.
Oh, nothing. I was just checking, just seeing how this was working, looking at things. But I wouldn't underestimate Rion. I know that I don't need to tell you that, but he probably is already aware. I wouldn't be surprised if he's already aware of what we're doing.
Oh, in this particular case, I would be 100% surprised if he was fully aware. There are some things that he can do and some things that he can't do, and we're well aware of the boundaries of what he's allowed. He has been pushing for a lot more lately, but our contacts assure us that he's been... Well, you've seen how wound up he's been. He's not quite getting his way as much as he'd like.
No.
I love facilitating that even more.
I 100% agree with you on that. Planar travel, is that a thing that he's used to doing?
What do you mean by planar travel? You mean his periodic jaunts to the astral plane?
Yes.
I don't think he's making visits to the abyss recently.
Let's hope not, but that hadn't crossed my mind until just now.
He's not
You had to
really
learn the
type.
behavior somehow.
I don't really see him as the type.
You're familiar of the other town and basically how it functions, and to some degree, I'm assuming.
Intimately, yes.
The room. I'm sure you're familiar with it. Their conference room of some sort.
I don't know anything about their conference room. I didn't know they had a conference room. The guilds are at war with each other.
Yes.
They have a way to, because my brother was like the leader, there was essentially a way for the guilds to summon the leader if enough of them came together to summon him. So it took at least 4 of the guild leaders, so at least half of the guild leaders, and they had these devices where essentially each person holds one, and everyone gets summoned into a meeting room all seated, and that was how we actually encountered and fought and took him down and the other 3 guild leaders who were on his side.
That makes so much more sense as to why sometimes they all seem to know about deals and sometimes none of them know.
And also, they had some sort of portal that we had to use these items to be able to get out through and to access the room with, and that was the same portal that the thing came through.
No, the thing was just summoned into being.
Oh,
It
was?
stepped out of the portal. It had. You didn't see it, but Antaeus did see it.
It looked
literally
like it stepped out of the portal.
Oh, okay.
Well,
something to be aware of.
If the portal functions as either a gate or some other trans-dimensional method of transportation, it's possible that it can easily be at a trigger temporarily used for a different purpose.
We also do know that my brother had somehow been able to magically enhance this room even farther beyond what the previous guild leaders had done, specifically for, it seems like, his benefit and defense.
Well, if what you're saying about him working with this creature is true, that would make some sense. Likely able to summon in some outsiders to give him the aid he needs to reinforce and enhance some of the natural defenses. That makes a lot more sense now. We had been noticing that it seemed like the guilds were becoming more unified, but not necessarily by their own choice. They still wanted to be in opposition, but the way that they would oppose, the willingness for them to oppose each other was not the same as it used to be. Sometimes it would take days where it used to take hours to work out agreements with them.
Yeah, it definitely seems like they made some sort of situation where essentially if enough of them wanted things done, it would be good for them to work together to achieve that, because they needed at least 4 people to call everyone. So it definitely seemed like there was some measure of certain guilds being kind of willing to work together when it came to a large enough goal they all wanted to see done, but still not really liking each other.
Thank you. This is good, useful information. Anything else?
Not that I can think of.
Very well. I have work I must get back to. I hope that all goes well with Rian and he is as disappointed as I hope.
I think us too.
Yes.
And she'll wave her hand in front of the mirror, and the mirror will go back to normal.
Well, that worked out pretty great, actually.
Until
Well-
we have to deal with Rian.
Yeah, but he told me that this whole thing he wanted me to do was not actually sanctioned by the ministry, so I don't really know if there's anything he can actually do in terms of ministry. But I mean, I wouldn't put it past him to find some way to get back at me.
That might be the thing that concerns me the most about it, is that it's unofficial, whatever it is that I'm sure he's going to do, and while they're not my first choice of people to give that information to. I think that having it potentially not just in Rian's hands is better than going back to him directly with it.
What I told them, at least they've been pretty honest with me. The one guy, whatever his dumb name is, may be a chauvinistic asshole, but they tell me up front what I should do, why I should do it, and if it benefits them, and if they're essentially using me. Versus Rian just tries to get me to do stuff and doesn't tell me anything.
Is very cryptic, yes.
Well, I'm thinking that maybe we should go see Moiran before we see Rian.
Yes.
Perhaps he can help with Ivy, and I do want to let him know about Gulron.
Yes, at the very least. Well, I think that most of these things should go to his Gulron's church. I do believe it would be nice for something to go to Moiran as a memento of sorts.
Yeah. You can head over to the Temple of Sashat. But as you approach it, you notice there is something quite different about this temple. The symbol that once emblazoned the front of the front entrance is now gone. Hold on one sec. In its stead, there stands to be nothing.
Oh, whoops.
But you can hear, it sounds like somebody is giving some kind of sermon on the inside.
I thought you were going to say there's a different symbol on there.
Nope.
So, but yeah, I fully expect not to understand anything about what's going on.
But yeah, are you all going to head in during the sermon?
Yeah, I will.
Yeah, like I wouldn't want to interrupt the sermon, but like if the door is open or something, I wouldn't mind sitting in the back.
People are always welcome. Now, many of you remember that way back, it was spoken that information must be kept, must be guarded. But guarding information is no longer enough. Information security is not all that matters. There are questions out there, and answers that we have not discovered yet the questions to. It is important that we focus on finding the answers and finding those questions. And it does not start with inaction. It does not start with defense. It starts with getting up and getting moving. That is what we're here about today. This temple has been given new inspiration and new understanding. And we, together, will learn more about what we have all felt. A movement, an inspiration. Well, Shashat may have abandoned us. This new voice, this new purpose, makes us whole again. And everybody will nod and say a number of words of confirmation. We will meet again this same time tomorrow. And some people will get up and leave, some people will get up and start moving towards him.
I'm assuming none of them are wearing anything that has any kind of symbol of Shashat on it.
No. In fact, many of them look like they had maybe shirts that had some kind of symbol on it, or they had some other display thing that has been discarded from it.
If I see that, I'll kind of nudge over to them and point with my head.
What about?
No, not to that person, but to the other people with me.
Oh, okay.
To kind of point at it and then point on my shirt where it's at.
I will nod.
What?
You just notice he's gesturing to somebody who's got a rip in their clothes.
What? Are you making fun of their attire? What?
No,
it's okay, Ivy.
Well, I'll explain it to you when they're gone. I assume they're walking past where you were at, and I'm.
What? What do you want me to look at, Ente? Why are you pointing out their clothes?
Did you all still want to meet with Moirin?
Yes.
Yes, once people absconded? That's not the word I meant to use.
He'll go through meeting,
Adjourned.
talking, having conversations with various people. And then as he sees you, he'll be like, where's Gulran?
Brianna will put her head down, and then she'll say, he's gone, and I think it's for good this time. Well, actually, I don't know that Brianna knows that he was gone before, but she'll just say, I think he's at peace now.
Stubborn fool went and offed himself, huh? Well, got himself offed, I should say.
The dragon attacked, he died, and then he came back and he was a little different. And then after we completed our last task, then he...
Dragon, is that what you called the large creature that was scaly with the wings?
Yes, the one that attacked his temple. It killed him, and then he came back to us, but after we completed our last mission, then he crumbled away.
like a stone.
Yes, much like a
Yes.
stone.
Perhaps given life by his god for one last thing. Well, it is not so sad. Much of his work with his temple has been accomplished. I'm very proud to see that he managed to get so much operations done in such a little time, but nothing really got in the way of Gulran once he sent his mind into something, did it?
No.
Not even laws or doors or windows.
Yes, he seemed to be pretty good at breaking those down when he needed to. Or breaking into them?
It's important, though. What I learned from him has really driven me to some great deal of motivation. I find that now it is much, much easier for me to understand the new whispers I hear on the wind and in my prayers.
New whispers?
Yes. The idea that there are threats to knowledge, threats which must be actively found and actively expunged.
So not the mistress then. That doesn't sound like her.
Seems very aggressive for the mistress if that were her.
I would never want to listen to her. She
No,
sounds
of
like
course.
some sort of harlot.
I mean, she just wants to make sure everyone has experiences, but
There's a certain wisdom that comes with that, I suppose, but
Nonsense.
ne-
It's a time wasted. There are questions which are unanswered and answers which are unquestioned. These things must be rooted out.
yes, it seems very. Don't say Milton. More proactive than you were before.
Well, of course. When Sascha stopped answering, she left us with so many questions and no understanding of how to find the answers. But now we hear the understanding, we hear the questions, we hear the answers.
I suppose after a while, it does become harder and harder to believe and to want to.
It is not a matter of belief, boy. Some of
My apologies.
some of my abilities had begun to wane.
Yes, I
I
must
had
have
lost
spoke.
the ability to clear up problems for people that otherwise used to be very simple problems to resolve. When you're unable to remove a disease from somebody, rudimentary disease, somebody who merely has something as minor as gangrene, and I cannot rid them of it, we have a serious problem on our hands at that point.
Yes, of course.
But since
And
I've been
you-
hearing the new words, this has not been a failure of mine.
do these words have a name behind them?
Nah. Just a
Uh,
message. Just a
What are you-
purpose.
what are you going to call yourselves then if you don't have a name?
For now, we will refer to ourselves as Inquisitors, asking all the right questions, learning all the right answers.
Just be careful. I wouldn't want some false god. I'm not saying that it is. I'm just saying that I wouldn't want that to be the case.
Carefulness is for those people who are willing to let the answers die in darkness.
Although I would be very interested in learning more about this if you're willing to share the information at some point, not necessarily now, of course.
Down the
but
road, boy, down the road.
Yes, I just want to put it out there.
So what
So
are you
you
here
have-
for? Are you expecting me to bring back Gulran?
No, I don't think that's. I got a sense that that would probably not be possible, but we do have someone in our midst that is injured, and I'll kind of look at Ivy. She's not all there right now, but she was weakened in the battle. I don't know if this is within your ability to heal, but
Let me check something here.
regardless of if you can help us or not, we wanted to let you know about Goron since you practically, well, did, for all intents and purposes, raise him.
Yes, thought it'd be best to at least bring you some sort of memento, should you want it.
There, Ivy seems to recover her wits about her.
He'll kind of look over. I see nothing spiritually or physiologically wrong per se with her. In fact, if anything, I would say she looks better than she did before. When last I saw her, there was a... How do I put this politely? When I looked at Antaeus some time ago, there was a dark cloud that followed him around. Very small dark cloud, but a dark cloud nonetheless. Then all of a sudden it went away. And then Ivy was carrying one. Still a hint of light, but a dark cloud. And now that dark cloud is diminishing. Much smaller than it used to be. I'd say she looks better than ever.
That is very interesting.
Ivy, you said you were feeling drained.
Yeah.
I don't have any, never mind.
Perhaps whatever dark forces were giving her powers? Did she make some kind of deal with an outsider or...
Nope.
Fortunately, it's something to do with my family line and my bloodline, and something I had to do. Also, I think drained some of that dark cloud from me, but it's also that's part of me, so it's still drained me.
Perhaps in time it will heal itself, but I can see nothing that I would be able to heal for you.
Well, we don't have any pressing matters soon, so I can see if things seem to go away naturally.
Feel free to check in a few days, and we'll go over things.
Appreciate you looking her over nonetheless.
Absolutely. Be happy to for good friends like you.
Thank you.
What were you doing with your hands there, Antaeus?
Oh, I was reaching for something and then I remembered I needed to go speak to Zigmars. I don't necessarily have this stuff on me to check out her, I guess her I don't have detect magic, I guess,
Oh, I mean, I do. Is there something you're thinking I can do?
Not necessarily in the moment. I just wanted it just gave me an idea. I wanted to see if she looked the same as she did before. But we could always do that later. This isn't
right.
A pressing matter.
Thank you for looking her over, Moirin, and I am sorry about Goron.
I will give him my regards.
Yes, you can speak with the dead, can't you?
In a number of ways, yes.
Well, if you speak with him, please tell him that I always appreciated how he looked out for us.
I'm certain he knows.
So, without a body, I can't speak with him, unfortunately. Anyways, I'm assuming that Goron had like a regular holy symbol or like an effigy or something for Kraz Goron on him.
I thought he gave you, in fact, one.
Yes. Then in that case, I will give it to Moirin if he wants it. I didn't know if it'd be weird to give him another god's...
I think actually, Gulron, at one point you gave him one, right?
I don't know if I remember I specifically gave a few to Zigmars, but I did have like 2 or 3 left in my body.
Okay. Well, either way, he can have one now, so that's fine. You can give him. You can hand over one of them.
I don't know if it'd be disrespectful or not, but given a different god. But I figured, at the very least, you should have something of his if you wanted it. Or
Thank
we
you.
We can do that. Yes, of course.
But I have other things of his. I need this nut.
Oh, okay.
I will always be able to look at his church and remember him fondly.
Well, I suppose that we should probably be going then, unfortunately.
Hope
The
everything
last
goes well.
place. Thank you. To the last place we really want to go. I think we've put it off long enough.
Yeah, I'm sure he's waiting.
Yep. You can head over to the ministry building. And as you step into the door, you will find that the dimensional anchor seems to have left you. As you appear in the office of Moirin, there are a few other people that are seated in...
You mean Rion? You
Or
said
Rian,
Moira.
sorry.
Yeah, okay.
There are a couple of people that are seated in some chairs that he is talking to when the three of you appear. If you'll excuse me, I have some things to attend to. We'll discuss further matters later. And the couple of people will get up and, walk right by you as if they don't see you. They don't look at you. They don't acknowledge your existence. They just walk right by.
Before we go in, I had to find something. That's more so because I think this is going to be a very unpleasant conversation. And did it pop up? It
The
did not.
honey dust.
Oh yeah, I don't see it.
It's right under your sleight of hand roll.
All I see is the thing that you have there. That's weird, but yes, just before we go in there, because I feel like he's going to be upset me very easily.
The thing was to gauge, are they just acting like they don't see us, or do they legitimately not see us?
You can't tell. Either they literally, don't... Something about this is weird in the way that they don't see you, and even with that gauge, it's not quite enough to know why or for what reason.
Okay.
What took all of you so long?
Well, we ended off course, so we had to travel back.
You shouldn't have ended up off course.
Well, I don't actually know the spell in question. I just know how to use magical devices.
Wasn't given to you.
Well, I took a lot of drain to myself and was not confident in my abilities at that point to cast it. I didn't know that it was anything different than a typical teleport scroll. I didn't think there was any reason why someone else couldn't cast it if I didn't know if my abilities were strong enough to do so.
No. Where were you supposed to go when you were finished?
I don't think I literally know the answer to this question.
If Ivy was told she doesn't remember, I'm like, I don't think I was told. As far as I remember, this was just something you were recommending I do off the record.
You don't think that there would be... You don't recall or don't think that somebody would want you after you complete a mission to return to them? You don't think that would be the most important person to communicate with once you've made such a decision?
This was kind of a mission for myself and something I wanted to do. Sure, there are other people who benefited from it, but it wasn't necessarily a mission for you, per se.
So you attempted to use the scroll to go somewhere you weren't supposed to. That's why you ended up in this circumstance.
Maybe.
Where were you trying to get to?
What's it to you?
Listen, I know you've been gallivanting around with that miserable, disgusting little green thing. What trickery has he led you to?
Nothing.
He would do anything to get one over on a government official. Certainly there must be something he connived you into.
He has literally never influenced me to do a single thing against you.
Oh, come.
In fact, we keep a lot of our
non-personal business apart. He doesn't talk about what he does. I don't really talk about what I do because, frankly, it's none of each other's business, and we don't want to persuade each other in any direction. I don't want to know all the ins and outs of what he does, and he doesn't want to know all the ins and outs of what I do.
Besides, talking takes away from the mood, right, Ivy?
Depends on the talking. If I decided to do something different, it was because I decided to do it, not because anyone influenced me.
These if statements, then. What did you do? Did you make a deal with him? Did he offer you great power and you took it?
No, of course not. Why would I make a deal with him? He's literally a piece of shit. I dealt with him. I got him out of that city. I did what I had to do. I took care of the problem.
Wait. What do you mean you got him out of that city? This does not sound like he is dead.
No, he's not.
We didn't really have a choice there. He summoned
We don't need to tell him everything. As far as I know, this is not an official ministry sanctioned mission. And you are our ministry boss.
We had an arrangement, though.
I didn't make an official arrangement with you. You told me what you wanted me to do. I never strictly agreed that I would do any of that. Just because you tell me what would be beneficial for you.
You speak like I would expect a slut of Sigmar's to speak.
Okay, blame it on him. I can't have a mind of my own. All right.
You're chosen by him because you have this disgusting personality. Self over substance. You could have
really
done something
understand
better
that,
for this country. You could have put something into this world, and instead you chose to do whatever your frivolous whims told you to.
That's fair. I am a little bit chaotic.
And now I have no clue what you have done to that city. Probably made it substantially worse.
Maybe. Maybe not.
Who did you
Maybe
leave
you
in
should-
charge then, once you got him out of the city, however you did that?
There are people who know there what has happened, and hold on a second.
Let's actually just take a short break and we'll continue
Alright.
this conversation.
Sounds good. Should have brought some Harlot sweets.
Right! Actually, I think I might have some.
So you're not going to give me anything about what happened?
He's gone. 3 other guild leaders are dead. 4 are still alive.
Give me this.
Now.
Do you think there's time enough for them to reorganize quickly?
I think they're trying to. I've given them what aid I can.
What do you mean you've given them aid?
Contacts I have that can potentially help them because they helped me.
The mighty big bet I made, and it did not pay off. You know, I knew this was how it was going to work out anyway, and I still took the choice. I still accepted that this was my best chance. After all that work I did in making sure that everything went just right with Elizabeth's mother, I thought just maybe you were the people, but this is how it is. This is the highest I guess it gets to be.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Of course you don't. Why would you? You haven't been here for forever. Just show up out of nowhere and think everything should be back to normal, huh?
I don't think that everything should necessarily be back to normal, but I'm just saying I literally don't.
Within minutes of walking in my door, you were already trying to make me feel uncomfortable at her sexual escapades with that ugly little green thing. It is just back to normal for you after walking right back in the door. Let's just be clear. This was, as you are all very aware and have been very clear about, this was not ministry business. I offered you a bonus for what you had done and what you might do. You chose to do what you did. I have no recompense that I can provide for your, what I would consider misgivings, but you probably believe is in the best interests of the world. You know where the door is. You can see yourselves out.
Okay.
What? What is that look, Antaeus?
What were you hoping would happen?
That you'd
You've
kill
been
him.
very cryptic with us.
That you'd
this
kill
entire
him.
time.
Ivy had a blood feud. Ivy was supposed
Yes.
to walk in, decide to kill him, probably consume his soul, and then go crazy. We would swoop in, bring all the order back in, and that city would go from the murder capital of our country to a system of order. And instead, it sounds like you went in, you aided the most powerful man in that city in escaping, murdered his cohorts, and then assisted whoever it is you decided to make agreements with that you thought were the better people in setting up a new faction of government, which I'm sure will just be even more murder than ever before.
Maybe.
Thank you for being forward with us for the first time.
I was fairly forward with Ivy. I offered her what she could do, and I offered her what she could do after that.
But you always leave out how it benefits you and how you're
That's not your
manipulating me.
concern.
It kind of is, because what if you're actually manipulating me to just do what you want? That's not really in the best for me. What would have happened to me if I had gone crazy afterwards?
You would have been
don't
taken
care.
out.
Yeah. Do you think I want to be taken out?
It didn't seem like you cared except to get to the bottom of your family's curse. And did you even
Obviously,
get to the
yes.
bottom?
I mean, there is no real bottom.
Great. So this is just one of those things I'm going to have to be on high alert for. You're not going to go around killing any more of the things, are you? No
The
more,
things.
no uncles, aunts, extramarital affairs your parents had.
I don't know.
We didn't. Oh wait, Brianna doesn't know this.
I don't know if there's any more of my bloodline out there. As far as I know, there isn't.
You're not going to go hunting out more of them?
Don't really intend to, no. I'm literally just hoping I can keep myself from going crazy, make sure I can't have offspring, and then hope that maybe I can live off a semi-normal life with the, green guy that you
Thank the
hate.
gods you have decided no children.
I think I'm more the motherly type anyways.
I'll help fund that effort if you need the assistance.
I mean, I'm well aware that I'm
pass on
not
that.
great with people, but like it's stuff like that makes it hard for people to want to root for you. And
I don't need people to root for me. I need people to look at the results I have. I would have had an incredible result had you all have just done the simple thing that your instincts should have guided you to. But for some reason this time, you've literally killed or near killed everything else I sent you against. I didn't expect you to let Toxini live, but you wouldn't have given the opportunity. You were prepared to kill her.
Perhaps Nia was the bloodthirsty one.
Here we go. Back to the jokes with this one. I thought you were a musician, not a comedian.
I specialize in all kinds of performances.
Yes, is that what made your boyfriend disappear? Are you also a magician?
Yeah.
Oh, look who's got the last joke there.
You're just always saying things about stuff that you shouldn't really know about. At least that's the detail that you
Why
don't
would
know
I
about
not
them.
know that all of a sudden one of the most illustrious PIs has disappeared from the city and the country?
You just keep sprinkling in things that make people distrusting of you.
My job is to know what goes on in this city. If all of a sudden Taran Tarpinian is no longer reachable by anyone, even the people he knows closest, a man who worked at my side numerous times, and I don't know what's happened to him, I think that's a fair thing to bring to the table.
That's fair. I didn't mean specifically about that, but like...
It is my job to handle information that goes in and out of this city. If it weren't for the church's sudden change in direction... Never mind. I don't think any of you would understand.
If it weren't for the church's sudden change in direction, what? Like,
don't worry about it. Get out of my office. I'm done with the three of you.
As you command.
Yeah, you can step out and you'll be in a hallway. After a little bit, you can get your bearing and find your way out of the ministry.
Pleasant, isn't he?
Never.
I mean, that was, I think, the most enjoyable conversation I've ever had with him.
He's just always so abrasive, just saying things and then never being clear about it. never telling us things about the missions that were going on, and showing up in weird places, and knowing a lot of things about things. Probably should know about those things. I don't know what his job is exclusively is for, but
I mean, I think it's fair that he knows a decent amount about stuff. It is his job. My issue is always that he doesn't want to divulge everything. He wants to divulge what he wants us to do, and I always felt like he was manipulating me, and I don't enjoy feeling manipulated. I'm going to work for the person who's upfront and tells me what they are using me for.
At least Ninoslav only withheld information because he had to, not because he was trying to manipulate us.
yeah. It also didn't help when he came in that day and like just took things over and rambling, aren't I? Probably. This should wear off soon enough.
What did you take?
I wasn't going in there sober. Absolutely not. Have you spoken to him before?
Briefly.
Oh.
I should let you know I'm out of Harlot Sweets.
Oh yeah, I need to get some more of those from Zigmar's, or make some more of those, I guess is more accurate. What I took some this is what I was taking. Took a little bit of honey dust. I don't normally like to keep a clear mind for the most part, but I knew it was going to be unbearable.
Those things are behind you. They're behind all three of you. There is little more that the ministry will ask of the three of you. As far as they are concerned, you are all heroes. You were all given proper accolades, proper recognition. And the things you need are basically taken care of. You've put your individual lives at great risk for the sake of the country, for the sake of its people. And that is not left without reward. There is one final thing that Sigmar's will make sure to bring to each of you. And Ghoulrun, why don't you tell them what you asked Sigmar's to do? I don't remember if that was made public or not.
Oh, you sly son of a bitch.
I think I said it during session.
Yeah, I can't remember if you had said it publicly, but
I did, but I don't remember all the things I told him. I think the main thing was I wanted all my personal effects to be given to Moirin to like help distribute to like basically it would be like the next chosen cleric of Kraskron would adorn my stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, I just told him to give everything to Moirin, and I think I also asked him to like give him the text as well, and like basically I wanted to leave it in Moirin's hands to set up with the as well as if there was like someone, we didn't really discuss it, but if there was someone that had like reached enough to be like a cleric of Kraskron, like close to me, but I doubt there would be anyone. But
yeah, there was not yet, but you can leave the text with him. So
I guess it'd be up to him to choose that person to get it.
What will ultimately end up happening is Moirin is adopting a new deity. So Moirin will reject your offer, Ghoulrun, but Zigmar's will not let you down. Zigmar's will watch over your church and make sure that he keeps the parts that Moirin couldn't. Your church will grow and prosper, and a new cleric will take it over. A young dwarf that heard tales of Ghoulrun, heard tales of the mountains, and a creature that once lived beneath them, that read the book, understood what it meant to follow Kraskron, and believed that his teachings were in line most appropriately with what it meant in his life to follow the divine. Ivy, for you, life is not unpleasant anymore. You check back in with Moirin every couple of days, and, well, it never really feels like you're improving in terms of your condition. You always have this kind of, like, weakened feeling. It also gradually, like, you come to realize that things are a lot quieter. Your head isn't as noisy. There aren't the whispers anymore. There aren't things calling to you. There's still the matter of your parents within the weapon, and you can hear their voices more like what they used to be when you first started hearing them, not when they began to shift. And they reserve themselves to the idea that, well, they may not be free. You are able to live a life that they couldn't. And that gives them a better sense of accomplishment than if you had freed them and they had to watch you die for it. They are saddened by the passing of their other child, but, well, not really even the passing, the damnation of their other child. But they
Arguably worse.
They accept the consequences of what had to occur. Decisions had to be made in a very swift manner, and they thought they were making the right decisions to try to make sure things didn't go wrong. With a clearer mind for you and a stronger sense of connection, they are able to explain more about your past, give Ivy more details about what she didn't know, and fill in the gaps of what she did. But there's still one matter that is always somewhat awkward, that comes up between you and Brianna for a while. The matter of what happened to Tehran. A question I have is, what would be Ivy's plan for the Tehran situation? What would she be trying to do over that time?
Well, I feel like I'd eventually tell, like, Sigmar's probably what happened and see if he has any ideas with all the connections he has in his company and everything, if he has any thoughts or ideas of, like, where to even start. Because it's like, I mean, Ivy feels like she has no idea. She's tried all this time to get her parents out and, you know, just feels like she's gotten nowhere, so.
With that understanding, he'll ask if he can bring someone in that he trusts dearly to assist him with this.
If he says he trusts them, I'll 100% be okay with it.
Antaeus, if Sigmar's came to you and asked to divert a portion of the funding to a project that involved recovering souls bonded to objects, or like transferring souls bonding to objects, would you fund such research?
Oh, stuff that's very much in my personal wheelhouse.
Yes.
Given the stuff I've learned about myself, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, of course. And after finding, especially if it's about Tehran, he would want to do whatever he can within reason to help him with that.
Yeah. Brianna, a lot of your life goes on without Tehran. It is hard to lose somebody that matters to you, but there's also a lot that you have gained You are in a greater position of wealth and authority. No longer do you have to worry about where you can perform, when you can perform, how you can perform. A lot of your needs, your core needs, are met. And it is one day, probably 7 or 8 years down the road, that Zigmars would come to you with a instrument in his hand. I know it's not exactly the way you'd like him, but it's always good to find out that the people you care about are never really truly gone. I hope you don't mind, but I thought it at least a funny joke in some ways, and you seem to be the humored type. And he will extend to you a flute. And
I will take it.
as you take it, you will hear a familiar voice whispering in your ear. Brianna, is that you?
It's me.
I've been watching you for so long. From afar now, you don't seem to meet with Ivy as much as you used to, but I understand you're busy now and have a lot going on. This is the best that can be done. I know it's not quite what you deserve, but I want to be able to at least be here, however I can.
I'm just glad to have you back in some form.
I'm glad to be back. I could also play a nice tune for you, but I'll need your help.
Of course. She will play the flute.
There will not likely within your lifetime be anything discovered as to freeing Tehran, unfortunately, from this, but Tehran never speaks a word of sadness or displeasure. He does get to be with somebody he truly cared about. And that's more than what he had before he met you. Antaeus, research is a long and grueling process. Finding understanding, especially in all the red tape. Many of the things that you want to do are not fully sanctioned by the city.
Nice way of putting it.
And it is a lot of fighting. A lot of bureaucratic nonsense. And with the enemies you made, it is a very uphill battle. But there is one person who is always at your side. Two, really. Zigmars is always there to help keep business flowing and make sure that whatever it is that gets developed, it is marketable. And Marjolaine, I believe I'm saying that correctly, is always willing to listen, always willing to be a part of whatever it is that's happening. There is something about your thirst for knowledge and understanding and development that always draws her interest, regardless of what form your relationship may take. She doesn't really care if a title gets put to it, and it doesn't really seem like Antaeus does quite either.
Those are social constructs for the most part. And tax benefits, I suppose.
Yes, but here there aren't. In Sierra
Yeah.
Savant, there are not tax benefits for such things. Merely like in this country, merely being in an extended relationship with somebody similar to common law, but not just for like people who could be intimate partners, but also for people who live together for a long enough period of time. They fall under common law practices as well. So, like, if you and Zigmars had decided to live in an apartment for a long enough period of time, you gain benefits as dependents for each other.
What a wacky sitcom.
Goron had just continued to kiss Sigmars. He could have gotten some benefits.
Well, he already has his own healthcare benefits. Oh, wait, now he has reverse healthcare benefits.
Oh, I don't want to think about the implications of that.
There is more that happens from all of your stories. But those stories are not going to be told here. Those stories will be told in another story. Good night, everyone. Thank you all for watching. And thank you all for making this story real. We'll take a short break, and when we come back, there will be our Q&A. All right, so congratulations on a successful campaign. I know there were some losses, but all in all, still a great deal of success was had. So I am open to any of your questions as reward for your success.
So one of the biggest things I want to know about, if you can tell us, is what was the ultimate fate of Nico and Erwin? The last we had heard, they left because of her gremlin problem.
Yeah, so I believe you, if I remember correctly, you had told them that they could go out east and find themselves a better place. Inevitably, he makes the journey out to God damn it, I'm forgetting. Let me go back to my world map real quick. He ends up going out to Sincerity, Emerald Sincerity, basically where you came from. He hops on a trip on a traveling thing to get to the capital, and then spends a little bit of time in the capital being very stressed out. But knowing that this is just a transfer, he's just got to figure out how everything works here, because getting the capital's massive information overload. What the fuck am I supposed to do? Where the fuck am I supposed to go? But eventually he finds a caravan that travels goods back and forth, gets them to take him there, and they spend the rest of their life out there, thinking that they're going to sort of escape the frustrations of the magic and all of this other stuff, not really knowing that Emerald Sincerity is the way I would refer to it. Emerald Sincerity is if ConAgra got unlimited access to as much bioengineering technology as possible, only replace bioengineering with magic. And so one of the reasons that there aren't people who are starving anywhere in the country is because effectively magical farming is 100% allowed. The problem is the poor tend to have these, and I was trying to sort of promote this, but it's a really faint thing to engage with if you're not looking for it. They're all actually passively addicted to magic.
Yeah.
So
that's in Knightsbridge too, isn't it?
Yes.
To some degree.
It's the whole country, I thought.
Yeah.
Everyone is around magic a lot, and they're basically eating magic a lot. And so when they deal with bigger, more complicated things, especially the poorer people who don't have access to the higher quality of foods, they end up they end up having such a level of arcane toxicity that basic level cure spells or healing spells for them don't function the same way. And so they have higher resistance to diseases, or not higher resistance, but higher susceptibility to certain diseases. Also, diseases have basically been fed by magic, so there are arcane diseases that exist that many of them have to deal with that aren't recoverable using spells like Remove Disease. But all in all, life is still much better for him than it was being in Knightsbridge. He doesn't have to worry about the problems here. And eventually some of what Antaeus is doing does catch wind of some of what Antaeus is researching. But
nice.
More of
does
that
he actually
may
keep in
be
contact?
To some limited degree. It's very slow because he is one of those handwriting a letter kind of people.
Yeah, and also I'm assuming he wouldn't want to do it too often because
he's just not the type. He writes a letter whenever he gets around to writing a letter, but otherwise he spent most of his time farming and enjoying that lifestyle.
Yeah, I just imagine if he ever met Brianna's family, he's how they're two different, But yeah, I was just kind of curious because I know we really didn't have much to pursue, what happened to them. So I was just figuring, that we could maybe find that out now.
Yep. Nope, he's much happier as a farmer.
That's good.
More power to him.
Yeah, the bard that ran away from farming, partially responsible for helping the farmer move out, or the man move out to the farm. So. Questions about anything else? Notice the silence there. Maybe not any questions here.
I actually do have, like, I always struggle to figure out questions for this stuff.
I had one and now I forgot it, so I'm gonna see if I can remember it.
Well, in the meantime, what about those mind snatching people?
Which mind snatching people?
The ones that were, Antas is more concerned about the ones that he's encountered, I guess, that are like that were like looking for him.
What mind snatching people?
Oh.
Don't like that answer.
What other questions do you have?
I'm so annoyed I forgot the one I thought of. My brain's not functioning tonight.
The stuff, was anything able to be salvaged from the stuff from Levi?
Yes, actually. So this is one of those ways that you get caught in like a huge legal ordeal because you want access to some of that research. Obviously, the ministry wants to keep a lot of that under wraps. Zigmar's pushes you to basically go public with some of what you know because it's not like they can put any sort of legal guard against you speaking out. And you manage to indirectly get some of the sources. Eventually, like, some of the remaining children of Toxini do end up reaching out to you and making exchanges that if you'll give them at least enough means to live, they'll share with you the research that they worked on while they were there.
That also reminds me, unless you figured out what you were thinking of, this stuff with the dragons. I don't know if like anything comes of that while we're still alive because they're dragons, but you know.
So you guys never forget what dragons are. Anyone else you've ever known does not forget what dragons are. And a lot of the children that you know of the dragons are talked about periodically as causing problems in various places, but no one can seem to really locate where they're hiding out at.
Oh, and he absolutely would have taken that deal if it wasn't clearly obvious.
Yeah.
Okay, I remember what it was. I want to know how Maha ends up doing at the end of all this.
So Maha does not manage to maintain her position running the ministry. She works really hard at it, but she was basically given a position that she could not maintain. However, when they let her go, it is in one of those kinds of situations where like she threatens to like come forward with a lot of stuff about a number of people that she now has like documentation on. They keep arguing like, well, we have a silence order on you because the position you had, you can't talk about these things. And she's like, I mean, you can do that, but by the time I'd let the information out, it's going to be a whole big mess. You can put me in prison, but it's so much worse for you. Like, don't put me in this situation where you guys make my life hell and I make your life hell. And it actually ends up being Rian who steps forward to say that they should just settle. If they can keep her quiet, well, he doesn't necessarily want no one to know about the information. He definitely believes that this information is dangerous. And it's important that only the people that need to know it for the time being. And so Maha takes the arrangement and is basically set for the rest of her life on a government stipend. And she and Kat get to live a very, very nice life.
I do have actually quite a few things. Speaking of the dragon stuff, So the dragon stuff, why am I forgetting his name? Moirin. It kind of came up in front of him. Does that become an issue of him finding out that they exist? Okay, cool. All right.
Everybody in the city has seen a dragon. Almost everybody in the city has seen a dragon, and there's no complications, but no one's forgotten. People still like talk about it from time to time. Remember that day when that big green lizard thing flew through the sky?
Yeah, but I didn't know if like knowing it was a dragon would like make it easier to find.
I mean, the word dragon has now circulated. It is now officially in print as these things are called dragons.
Ooh.
How does that interact with Phoenicia? Like, do the people know what they're called? Can they still see them over there too?
They can still see them over there. So that is a question worth asking. But there are reports in Phoenicia where people are like, we're seeing all these like these creatures, these lizard creatures flying through the air. I imagine it's likely at some point Niev may slip with the word, and that would cause like it to spread. But it's a much slower spread there than it would be here, because even if she did let it slip, she's in a druidic circle. Like, it's going to be forever before that ever like passes around. Some outside traveler would have to be like in the druid camp at the time, just around somebody that you've like mentioned the word to, and they're like, oh, it's always unnerving when one of those dragons fly by, and the guy's like, dragon? Is that what they're called?
I gotcha. Okay. Are there, in our party's lifetime, is there any consequences with the mother coming after us? The red dragon's mother.
No, the red dragon's mother never makes their appearance. No.
Okay.
Actually, I do have a question. I don't know if this is one of those ones that like applies more so to finding out later on, but the business, are the more lofty goals of the business.
The long-term effects of your business are not something that you can gain the answers to from this game. They are answers that will come in future games.
Good to know. I figured as much, but
I have a long-term thing for Ivy that probably isn't a huge game thing. Did she ever figure out how to effectively have like whatever this age would be of sterilizing yourself?
Yes. It's actually, there are aspects of it that are easier than expected, because it doesn't have to be Ivy that deals with it. If you're content to spend your life with Zigmars, Zigmars is willing to kind of go through the procedure himself to make sure that no complications.
Yeah, I mean, I think that would be like the temporary solution, but I think Ivy would still try to look into if there's something that she can eventually figure out for herself, just because she has the fear of that. If for any reason she does go crazy Ivy may not be content to just be with Sigmars, and may,
That's fair. Then going beyond that, that is research that,
that actually leads me to a question that might pertain to it, as far as, because
Antaeus feed it out and I'll decide on whether or not it influences it.
Antaeus would want to monitor if Ivy is willing to let him what's going on, because the thing that he was trying to figure out before in the temple was if she is more or less arcane than she was, like with the effects of it.
So I guess actually there's a lot of stuff that will come out, and I think there are a lot of like complicated directions that this can go in, and it kind of just sort of depends on, there's some other background stuff that is happening in the world as well that at some point may get played out, but the understanding of Ivy's condition is a complicated thing. The negative levels do bring Ivy some measure of humanity, bring back some level of humanity to Ivy. almost as though, like, I guess the best way to explain it is you've basically been bonded to the shadows that you consumed. And if you would have went out to, like, slay the shadows that exist within the wastes, you would have basically become like 70% shadows, 30% ivy. And so every time you would have raged, it would have been like you trying to just gain back enough semblance of control in each circumstance. The positive news is your rage would be extended additional rounds, but the negative side is that, like, and without cost.
Yeah, you're having a harder time controlling yourself and doing what you actually want to do.
Correct. The choice that you made means that you are much less likely to go insane, and the fact that you used the gem and part of you did end up being lost in the process was actually pretty pivotal to your long-term survival. And Teus will learn more, but for the most part, you are well enough in balance that unless Ivy went out and seeked trying to kill off more things, it's not a liability to Ivy anymore at this rate.
Gotcha.
If Antaeus did more research into trying to push Ivy into shadow things, that would be a whole nother story. But for the most part, Ivy will not have a negative relapse so long as she doesn't, like, go off adventuring again.
Gotcha.
I'm assuming that we all find out this eventually this new church and
Yes. All the details of that, though, will most certainly be unveiled in whatever the next campaign in this world is.
Gotcha.
On the lines of religion, though, given that Brianna's not adventuring anymore, she probably would be trying to find out more about the mistress. Would there be any kind of, like, mistress things that she could find out in Knightsbridge?
Yes, there are a lot of people. So the mistress doesn't have an official temple, but there are a lot of missionaries of the mistress that roam throughout the streets of Knightsbridge, trying to convert religious types, trying to convert, like, disenfranchised people and affluent people to understanding why the mistress is a deity that has their best interests at heart. It is very easy to find one of these missionaries to come to one of their gatherings, which can sometimes feel kind of uncomfortable because they're a bit cult-like at first, especially since some of them have, like, that sex cult vibe with less sex. like if you, like, eyes wide shut, but like people aren't just having sex in the background. People are also, like, just doing weird shit, like nailing things into their hands. Or, like, all kinds of just weirdo, bizarre shit. Testing out, like, the negative effects of the positive effects of negative spells cast on themselves. So, like, what benefits can I have from, say, casting flesh to stone on myself and then having to try to wake up from it? Like, a lot of weird stuff goes on at these things, and lots of people watch and, like, try to gain understanding from it, and then, like, experience it themselves or try to share the experiences with the person. They're very, very strange kind of gatherings. But there's also a lot of sex. There's, like, an incredible amount of sex at these parties as well. Let me not underplay it, because the mistress loves sex.
Well, Brianna does too, so...
Yeah.
I was trying to think of something else, but if anyone else has one, go for it.
Anything other that's been kind of divulged for Elizabeth?
So, Elizabeth is, like I said, effectively cured. Her gremlins problem is essentially gone after what had been done. Her mother is her mother is jailed. Her father eventually ends up dying of a mysterious illness. And Ivy kind of inherits the family fortune and estate, or Elizabeth ends up inheriting the family's fortune and estate. She is brought back into she's offered the option to join back into the barracks and to work as one of the knights. With the understanding of what happened with Ivy's mother and some of like how how Elizabeth was essentially set up, like she was put in the ministry and things were being done to look like they were trying to help her succeed when in reality they were being done to try to make her fail. She was being given like responsibilities that deliberately they knew like these were things that she could not attain, especially with her condition, or that she could not like either survive or like endure properly, would have to retreat and then like come back and say like I'm a failure, blah blah blah. When a lot of that came to light, they offer her an opportunity to join back in and give her a much more prestigious position for her assistance in making sure that her mother ends up where her mother belongs.
Speaking of her mother, what was Rian's whole involvement in that he alluded to?
Oh, Rian wanted Ivy or Elizabeth's mom to get taken out of the equation. As much as Rian is a really, really unlikable character, he's written that way by design. He is a character that I wrote out of some of my own personal negatives. So it's a character who like has a lot of really overall good intentions, but believes like every time you explain them to somebody, they just think that you're trying to do something bad to them. And so he's just learned like the less I tell people, the more likely things are to get done like effectively, instead of somebody's like altruism getting in the way or them thinking that like he doesn't understand what's going on or whatever. So he's just this guy who's got this massive chip on his shoulder and hates having to work with all these groups of people who think they're doing right by the world and who ultimately don't really know what they're doing in the first place. And and he feels like the more information you give them, the more you're just giving them rope to hang themselves. So best to give them what they need to know and get them on their way. And so with the Elizabeth's mom thing, like she is actively poisoning the ministry in order to try to privatize a lot of the functions the ministry does. She's bankrolling companies like the Society of Security and other various industries in order to make sure that like people feel more like these private industries are beneficial. And of course, this benefits her because she acts as a securities consultant for a lot of these people. After spending her own time working for the ministry as both an internal and external consultant. Yeah, she's
way too close to home with the real world stuff.
Yes, she is a massive, massive criminal who managed to do a lot of things and basically was scapegoating her husband, who inevitably learns what she does, turns over the last few bits of evidence, and that is why he is poisoned to death. I'm sorry, that he dies of unforeseen causes or unknown causes.
Yeah, unknown causes.
What is like the actual, like, I don't know if this is something we can know or not, or if it'll come up later, but what happens with that city, and like what was like the people from a Megiddo, the Evelina and crew, like what were they like doing with that city? Why they wanted it to stay kind of like in chaos?
Oh, because to them it really is beneficial for them in trade. So what they're doing is they're basically selling weapons to them. They're doing weapons trading for powerful artifacts or various things trinkets that they find interesting. And there are a lot of things that city has access to that other cities don't. And so they've operated as this kind of brokerage route. And part of it is similar to like how in John's game, he has the whole Moroccan thing. this is a place, it's a place filled with guilds, and a lot of the guilds are about doing dirtier deeds. And so, like, people will secure contracts with people to have things done that they may not necessarily be able to do within the confines of the law. And this means that, like, they can't be paid in coin, so they ultimately get paid in some sort of, like, interesting or unique trinket or bauble that they have, that then later on God damn it, what? It's not artificers.
Archivists.
The archivists can then broker for weapons on to get passed around. And they have a wide supply of various things because Megiddo is a very large trade location. A lot of people come to Megiddo to trade very wild and interesting things for a number of the things, you know, and lots of trade moves back and forth across there.
And so Rion, was he just wanting to try to essentially take over that city and put, like,
he
them
wanted to
in
clean
power?
up. He wanted to clean up all the crime in the city, and he knew that, like, if he could break down the guild structure, if somebody came in and basically was able to eliminate all 8 guilds, and he, like, sent a team down there immediately, he could, like, lock down the city and get order restored. That's basically his goal in all of this, was to reach the highest levels of the ministry. And to do that, this was like his crown jewel. If he could secure this and then come back to, like, his leaders and say, like, look, while all you guys were squabbling about things, I recognized a circumstance that happened, took advantage of it, and took action on it. And that's ultimately why he's so mad at all of you, because you guys cost him the big promotion that he wanted. And that's why he was so annoyed, because he had altruistic intentions. He is ultimately, I don't know if you got the hint when I was explaining it, but he's ultimately a follower of Sascha. And so, well, to him, like, he believes in information security, not in information. So, like, with that comes, sometimes you can't always tell people everything, but ultimately, like, you have to know it, you have to understand it, and the information has to be protected in some way. It has to be available when necessary. And so, like, he's actually really mad when, like, Moirin makes this whole change and gives up on Sascha. Because now he's kind of stuck with, like, well, there isn't really a god for me, because this new god wants to go find all these answers and bring them to light. And you've got Suanol, who's just kind of like, knowledge is here and knowledge should be available. And like a library, anybody can come in and get knowledge whenever they want. And then you have, you know, Thoth, who's like, knowledge is for you and you alone. Don't let other people have your knowledge unless they broker the right deals with you. So he feels kind of lost. He feels like he's a pretty big failure. And a lot of it is, like, his personality and his attitude towards things. It got him to as high as he can go, and now he can't really climb any further because he doesn't know how to be a more socially, like, positive person.
Because I was going to say, I think Ivy would have been more willing to do what he wanted and, like, help him achieve what he wanted, because, like, knowing that, like, obviously he had good intentions for that city. So I think, like, if he had, obviously I know that's the way the character's written, but, like, if he, you know, had been able to be like, look, like, I think we can, you know, kill 2 birds with 1 stone here. You can get what you want, and we can also, you know, clean up a really messy, fucked up city. You know, she would have been like, oh, okay. But because of how his personality is and how he doesn't want to share things, and it just feels like she's being used, and she's just like, if you're not going to tell me what your actual motives here, then I'm not fucking helping you. Like,
yeah, and the problem for him was that historically telling people that information ultimately led them to be like, oh, you're just looking for another promotion. Like, this isn't about the people. He's so used to running into the altruistic goody two-shoes types where he's like, you know, this is good for me and it's good for you, and because he says it's good for him, they're all like, oh, I'm out. Like, I'm not here to do what you want, you know, I'm here to do good for the world. And it's like, you don't understand that sometimes those two things do have intersections, and I am the definition of that intersection.
Should have been paying more attention to Antaeus then.
The problem was, with regard to you, you represented all the things that he hated about himself. And so every time he interacted with you, he was like, God, I hate this guy. And he didn't really, obviously, like, you know, that psychological thing where you don't consciously understand what it is that you hate about somebody who's identical to you until, like, it's too
I hate
late.
this and this and this about this person. And then you're just ignore the fact that all of those things apply to you.
Well,
as
because
well.
he doesn't have real friends or loved ones that are, like, telling him, hey, dude, this is just, like, you looking at yourself in the mirror and not liking the reflection.
He's got a real tragic story.
He does, actually.
Oh, I laugh because it's uncomfortable.
I try to make sure that, like, there's a compelling reason for my characters to have some of the motivation. Sometimes I don't do a good job, but every once in a while I feel I hit the nail on the head. And it was very, like, quaint that you started paying for the sponsorship or the Patreon benefit when you did, because I was like, man, this is a really good, like, this is a really good position to have your name end up stapled to, but at the same time, like, this guy's also a giant asshole, and it feels bad that Ryan gets to be connected to the asshole.
Yes, but like actually that last conversation we had was like, oh, like it feels like there's more than him just like wanting to do something horrible and evil, but he's just not willing to, like, you know.
Yep.
I thought of something from the very beginning of the campaign that I need to know more about. That creepy Brock dude from the nightclub that Brianna took Elizabeth to, that was like making Elizabeth like punch him and stuff.
Oh, that dude just,
Oh, yeah.
that dude is a crazy masochist, but also is, like, very tough. And he's looking for someone who can actually inflict real pain on him.
Well, I'm sure that Brianna finds him at the mistress thing that she goes to.
So, I mean, imagine that you're like a barbarian, right? You've gone around, running around, and you've, like, you know, managed to get to that point where you're starting to stack up some DR. And all of a sudden, and you're, like, out, and you're like, man, nothing feels quite like the rush I get when I'm, like, being cut, and I'm feeling that kind of, like, burning through my veins. But when he's, like, out looking for partners, he's like, but I can't find someone who can give me that rush like I really need. Like, nails can't do it. I need somebody with, like, literal nails for fingers that they can drive into my back so I can finally feel that experience. And so when he saw, like, Elizabeth being as strong as he was like, oh, somebody who might actually be able to, like, inflict upon me the pain that I want to match what I feel in battle.
Interesting.
And you just ran away from it.
I mean, he was weird.
He was weird. He
She's
was
all
super
like,
weird.
why do you, like, what? Like, I mean, maybe if he had just been like, I feel like Elizabeth is the type of person where if he was like, I like this, keep punching me, she'd be like, I'm not into that.
Yeah, but he's a
thanks,
low
no thanks.
charisma barbarian. Like, he's not gonna be like, let's have a
True.
civil and a low intel barbarian. He's not gonna have a civilized conversation with Elizabeth. He's gonna be like, give me more.
I mean,
What we've learned is that communication is key.
Yes. Elizabeth's over here like, why is this random dude at this nightclub trying to get me to beat him up? Like, are you trying to purposely get me kicked out of here or something? Like, is this like some scheme where you're like, oh yeah, punch me, and then the guards kick me out or something? Like, I'm like, what is going on?
step on me, mommy Elizabeth.
Nope. Sometimes it's
No.
just Steve trying to insert some random kink into a session.
I mean, I figured that was probably what it was, but you know, she's not a very
Yeah.
sexual character, so of course that's not what she's going to think of. She's just going to be like, what is wrong with you, dude?
One of these days, Brianna invites Elizabeth to a mistress party, and like,
No, that would never happen.
Nope.
That would even
She's
if you
not
got her
falling
to
for
come
that
in.
shit.
Yeah, even if you got her to come in the door, it would be opens door. Nope.
Yep. They'd be like, oh, that's what this is? Nope. Bye-bye.
And Tass would want some notes from there, but he's definitely not showing up.
I was actually thinking about it one day from some random conversation that like John and I were having, and I was like, I feel like Elizabeth is that person where she probably just has always felt so awkward with any type of like sexual encounter. Like anything she would have ever experienced would have just been so awkward that at some point you just stop, right? Because everything is weird and uncomfortable, so why keep trying?
She struck me as potentially being ace. Like there's a very like sex doesn't really matter, like I don't feel it, and if it happened, whatever, but if it doesn't, whatever as well. I don't know if that's true to the character or not, but
maybe a little bit, but I feel like also I almost feel like she has had probably so little experience of anything that I think there'd be some level of her not even knowing like what her identity is. And I actually think it would have been interesting if I had played her longer to see if anything more like sort of developed with the whole like Maha and Cat thing, because I think that could have eventually been a scenario where she starts to be like, oh, okay, like maybe I could like be interested in something.
They were checking you out to see if there was some interest there. Like it was we don't care whether it goes that way or not because we like this person. Yeah. But like we also like Maha has a weird sort of attraction to Elizabeth's body type as well. But as evidence when you look at like Kat, who has kind of the same the same architecture.
But they didn't make her like feel uncomfortable and weird about it, which was nice.
No.
Yeah, which is why I think that could be a scenario where Elizabeth finally does feel comfortable enough and like actually, you know, does end up kind of with them, because it was like she knows that there's like that level of like comfortableness with them to where it's not just some random person coming up to her and hitting on her and her having no idea how to respond because she just doesn't know how to like deal with those encounters. But when you've got these people who kind of know you, they know that you're just this weird, awkward person who has very little knowledge and you don't know what to do, then it's a lot easier to just to be like, look, I have no idea what I'm supposed to do, and you just depend on the other person to sort of like guide you through it.
The other side of that, though, was Maha also saw a lot of talent in her as a character. And so, like, even if it didn't go in that sort of direction, to know somebody who, like, might be able to climb the chain like she did was someone that she wanted to kind of follow.
Yeah.
I do have a question. What was up with the witches? Like, did that ever get?
You guys never engaged with that story, and it was so. So this was one of those like background, if you wanted a little downtime thing to kind of engage with, that was going on. They are basically this group that's basically playing like shitty, annoying pranks on people, and they start off as like silly little pranks, and it's actually, you're not right, but you're also not entirely wrong, Ryan. But I don't want to give out too many details because there's something going on in the background that maybe one day you guys will discover. But basically, the pranks start getting progressively more and more out of hand. And as they start getting more and more out of hand, like weird shit starts happening. And then eventually it kind of gets solved enough that it's like kept under control. But they're still sort of around. They're just not causing the havoc they were earlier on. That's why like the story kind of backs down. If you guys don't interact with them, then the guards just start like periodically like arresting them and imprisoning them. Like they can't prove anything that was done because the witches are able to do these things without like leaving a singular magical imprint because they're doing like coven magic, and it doesn't come from like one definitive source. It's seeming to come from like nowhere, or like, you know, they like a variety. And so they can't go like, well, we can track this magic to you. They're like, we can track this magic to something around the area where you were in, and we know you had to have had something to do with it, but we can't prove what. So we're going to take you and lock you up for a little while. And so like the number of instances becomes much, much fewer and farther between.
Yeah. by the time I was like, oh shit, I do want to interact with that, and then it was like, I've got way too much going on, unfortunately.
Yeah. It was something I thought we were going to at some point deal with, but then we just never really did. So.
No, I figured it was there if there was like another line you guys wanted to follow, but I don't like. There's a couple of things that were in the world for that purpose, but I don't. I like to leave the option up to you guys as much as I can, because I think that the story. My job is not to be the. I don't know how to put it. Like I've thought about how to try to state what I mean to say, but I like a certain amount of it being in your hands and a certain amount of it being in my hands, because it really this is really more of a collaborative storytelling thing and not necessarily I have a story to tell thing. And I think that that's just how it works best for me. I don't think that works well for everybody, and I think that there are positive things that can be said in both directions of that. Sometimes like data management is a huge problem when you allow the story to go off of have too many rails or too many like options to go down. Like sometimes it takes you guys reminding me of characters for me to have to like go back and let the archive play out like what happened to this thing. And sometimes I'm literally catching them up because like I have to think through like, well, what would have happened if that thing would have gotten the additional amount of time that it could have. And I have a good framework for what the rest of the world is doing, so it makes sense as to where they're going, but I may not have completed that chain in the line. Whereas somebody who's like got things going, you're gonna know like what happened to this person, where did this person go, what did this, what did this, what did this. I don't actually have a spider-like mind that journeys out. I'm just really good at putting down just enough information for myself to know how to finish the rest of the puzzle if somebody like wants to kind of go off in that direction towards it. It's a useful talent, also, but it's not a useful talent when it comes to anything functionally.
I was gonna say it also helps because like what's going on in the world, so you know how things would kind of play out to some degree there. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're fine. What was actually happening in that underground area with the dwarves?
Hold on one sec, sorry.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember. What was going on in the underground city with the dwarves?
Yeah, so when we found those the hidden ballistas or whatever, was someone actually planning an attack on the dwarves or something?
There was an invasion planned, and the invasion was a city funded. So Knightsbridge was helping to fund. So they had built out this tunnel system. They were building this tunnel system, and when they ran into this problem, they were really annoyed. And then so they were looking to try to build bypasses. And in the process of trying to build these bypasses, they found that there were also these other underdwellers that were trying to find bypasses as well to get to other parts. And so then they negotiated a deal. They brokered a deal if you guys launch an attack on this city, then we can come in and claim well, we could better protect you against these things if we put this road in here, because we'd regularly have people traversing this area, and we could keep an eye on things and make sure that everything is properly secured. But when you guys came in and discovered all that really fucked up that whole plan.
So they were trying to build a gas pipeline, and there were people that were living there, and then they were we don't want this pipeline on our land. It's gonna fuck up all the water. No, that's
the difference here is this would not have fucked up the water, and they could have lived. Yeah. They could have coexisted peacefully. And to be fair, not to be overly political, but a properly built gas line doesn't have complications. But we have yet to find a company that properly builds a gas line.
Well, it also requires them putting enough money into things to make sure that things are safer, as opposed to skimming money and making it.
Anyway, getting off the politics.
Yes.
At least real politics.
So, Ninoslav, was he aware that this was going on? Was that partially, or was he just literally mad at us for not doing what he told us to do?
No, so your discovery of that drops a lot of extra paperwork and shit on Ninoslav because somebody, obviously, this is a discovery that happens. He starts asking questions, and then all of a sudden, somebody's like, I need to know every fucking reason that you had people there. I need to understand, I need to understand deeply, what the fuck is going on. And so, they just bury him in, a bunch of shit for, days on end. So, it's details that he wanted to know nothing about, wished he didn't have to, engage with it, and came as mostly a surprise to him in that moment. Would have been no surprise to Rian if you were working under Rian at that time, but that was a project that Rian was unsure whether or not he was in agreement with, because to some degree, the dwarves are stopping even their own progress. He believes the dwarves could benefit strongly from a trade arrangement, but at the same time, he's not really in favor of letting evil creatures do terrible things to other evil creatures, even though they're both evil creatures. Everybody who lived in that city was a selfish bonehead that, well, not everybody, but the large majority of those people were very self-centered, and that whole civilization is kind of bred on that idea of self-interest, just like most drow cities are. They were all Durgar. They weren't. Some of them were dwarves, but most of them were Durgar.
Interesting that there are any dwarves down there.
No, still dwarves in various places. Still pockets of different creatures. All right. Well, seems that there are no additional questions. But I really enjoyed this campaign. I really enjoyed this Q&A. And I look forward to more in the futures. Good night, everyone.
Yep.
Thanks for watching.
Bye.